Number 10, an important quantity in high-speed physics is given by f of t is equal to t times this quantity squared. T is the time, v is velocity, and c is the speed of light. If v is always less than or equal to c, and t is always positive, tell whether each amount below is a possible output. Okay, so we're going to tell whether each of these quantities is possible as an output. So f sub t is equal to t. Well, there's a t here. If this is going to be equal to t, this quantity right here would have to be equal to what? T times what would give us t? It would have to be 1. So the question is, can 1 minus v over c squared be 1? Well, it says v is always less than c, so less than or equal to c. So the biggest v could be would be c, as big as c. The smallest it would be, I guess, 0, right? So if this was 0, we'd have 1 minus 0 over c squared. We don't even need to know what c is, because 1, this is going to be 0 divided by c. This is 1 minus 0 squared. It's equal to 1 squared. It's equal to 1. So this could be 1, and then 1 times t is just t. So this one is a possible output. All right, and for this one, is it possible that this could be 0? Well, again, if we're going to get t times this thing here, either t would have to be 0, which I suppose is probably possible, or time could be 0, like at the beginning. Also, 1 minus v over c squared, could this be 0? It looks like it could be 0 if, let's say, we have 1 minus, if it says v can be equal to c, always less than or equal to c, so it would be c over c squared. That's going to give us c over c, that's just 1, so this is going to give us 1 minus 1 squared, which is equal to 0 squared, which is equal to 0. So a couple ways this could be 0. If t is 0, or if this quantity is 0, which would happen if v was equal to c. So also possible. All right. Is it possible to get negative 1? It says t is always positive. So if this is always positive, this would have to be a negative quantity in order for us to get a negative quantity out. And this cannot be negative, and here's why. The inside could be, let's say v is a negative quantity, and so let's say, I don't know, we could get anything. Let's say we get minus 500. We got this big negative quantity. But when we square it, it always becomes positive. So this squared right here is going to make this positive. We're told that t is always positive, so it can't be negative. So this has to be positive times positive, or positive times 0, as we showed in this case. Either way, it can't be negative. So this is not a possible output of this function.